Alright, so you see here is my digital sketches that I printed out on this page. Yeah, if I'm doing live voiceover, you're gonna hear my very chatty cat in the background. His name is Pammetje. He will also try to go on my little recording as well. There he is. I think it's because I'm talking. He thinks I'm talking to him. Hey bud, you helping? No, you're not. Oh. Okay. Right. I think I left off at saying that it doesn't need to be very clean. I don't really want to spend that much time on it if I'm gonna line it anyway. So yeah, that's what you get. Little profile busts to my characters. I figured it might be good to show two different palettes for characters for my digital coloring. You'll see why. I'll explain a little bit about that when we get to that stage. If my pets play nice. Alright, I will zoom you in on the first one. Here we go. So recently I've been using a oh, are you gonna focus? No? Oh well, it's a brush. Unipin? I don't know if that's a well-known brand. It doesn't really matter. It has a pointy nib. It's like a, I think it's plastic with felt. It just means that you can get some more line weight variation than you can with a regular micron pen, which is just, you know, a straight stick, right? If I can show you. I mean, this is a 0.3 nib, I think, so it's going to be very small, but yeah, you can only just get straight lines like that with a unipin, as far as I know at least. And I'm not no kind of expert on these things, so correct me if I'm wrong. But yeah, I like the variety in the lines on the brush tip pens. I do have other brush tips that are have longer, more softer nibs, but they're too hard to control for me. So I like the one that has a little bit more stiffness to it. All right. Well, I'm a bit worried that I'm gonna be really quiet because I'm just not used to talking while I draw. I know that, I mean, I've tried doing commissions and things like that while I'm on a call with friends, but I just get too distracted by the talking. Don't do anything. It's always drawing with difficulties when you have pets that are very present. So you can already tell in this sketch that I drew the nose too long. So I'm just gonna see if I can fix that. It's not too big of a problem though, if the proportions still aren't quite right after I've lined it, because of the miracle of digital art. You can move things around and resize things, which is great. You don't have to go insane over drawing the head 10 sizes too big, which I always do. The person who asked me to record my digital process, well, they didn't ask me to record it, they just asked me about what it was, but I figured it'd be easier to show than to tell. They also asked me about what I take inspiration from. It's kind of a hard question for me to ask because I feel like I mean, I couldn't really think of an answer right away. I feel like my process is in a way pretty simple. I just look at nice pictures on the internet and I tend to associate things like that with a specific character. It can be anything, to be honest. It can be just like a picture that has a really nice color scheme that makes me think of a character, or just like aesthetic posts, or it can be something more specific, like an earring, and I'll think, oh, my character Ezra would look really nice wearing that, and then I'll draw it. Yeah, it's not that deep, but it's the way that I enjoy drawing. I think generally speaking, it also just comes from making up stories for my characters. I do have a problem with, you know, thinking of really nice scenes that would happen in a character's story and then being too precious or too like scared about being able to actually draw it the way that I imagine it, and then I don't do it. Maybe, you know, maybe 2021 I'll actually start doing narrative pictures like that, or maybe short comics. I think it is really nice. I always really like it when I see other artists do comics for their characters. It lets you get to know them, I think, a lot better than, you know, just a pretty picture of your character standing around, which is what I draw a lot. Again, with these lines, I don't need to be too fussy, just because I have the luxury of being able to fix it in post, basically. I think the nice thing about these kinds of brush-tipped pens is that they kind of do line weight variation for you, almost. Just because they are quite sensitive to pressure, I guess, so you don't have to do that much to make it look nice. That's what I think, at least. Here I drew a ribbon, I think. I hope my head wasn't in frame then, my big head. I haven't completely mastered the art of remembering which lines that I've sketched are going over the top of other lines. But again, I don't have to be too fussy about it, because I can just erase it in Procreate or Adobe Fresco, which you're gonna have to see some of, a lot of actually, later when I get to the coloring, which I apologize in advance. Alright, so we've got a little lines for Shiren here, and you can see that I don't think I'm gonna line these outside things. For one, I didn't use a symmetry tool, so they're not gonna be symmetrical. Alright, so next character, they should be pretty simple. They should be pretty simple to line, because they're obviously they're just floating heads, for the purpose of showing you guys how I do my colors. So I'll just get into it. I hope... Wow! A mournful cry. I hope I can show you some variation in features as well. I don't think I'm the best at it. I'd like to be better at it, because it is important to me to be able to, you know, distinguish characters from each other in that way. But I also have I definitely have features that I just like drawing, or I find attractive, that I always give my characters. Like hooded eyes, or I really like moles, so I have to actively stop myself from giving every character moles. And even then, when I don't do it, I'm like, this character is looking a little smooth for my liking. that I've resisted. Sharon is one of those characters. Ezra, this is Ezra. They're a really old character of mine. Originally started as a Dragon Age character, as my warden actually in Origins. But they outgrew it. Which is what happens pretty often when I make characters for video game settings. I just end up, you know, liking my own stories for them better than what the game presents me with. Oh, like here, I forgot that I gave them an earring. And I'm just going to draw it over the top of everything. It does not matter. It just means that I have a little bit more cleanup to do later on. Characters that I draw a lot, I have certain things that I always draw the same on them. Like Sharon's little hair swoop in the front. I always draw it like that. This here around Ezra's ear, where I have a little swoopy thing going to the back and then other hair tucked behind her ear, but still showing behind the ear. It's long enough to curl around the ear. But it does make it very exciting when I draw their hair differently. Like this Sharon, actually, the character doesn't have long hair, but I had a craving. Alright, now the scariest part. Just drawing the actual face. I definitely find certain features very difficult still. Why smudged it? That's fine. We'll fix it in post. Yeah, one of the features that I still find very difficult is the like mouth nose situation here in profile. I just find it difficult to draw in a way that I actually like. But I'll see if I want to change it later. Sometimes I just leave it. I just, you know, it's fine.
I'm still not 100% sure how I'm going to color the frames, or if I'm even gonna do it on camera. I'll see. Alright, we'll start with Sharon. Now, you might be wondering, why am I using Adobe Fresco, of all programs? Well, because I mean, I really like the Kyle Webster watercolor brushes. Tried importing them into Procreate and Photoshop brushes in general, the AVR files, but I just don't like how they import. They don't import the way that they are in actual Photoshop on my PC. So Fresco, you know, it just does that without having to fiddle around with it. First, I'm going to lay down some basic skin color. Sharon's a pale man that tends more towards the sort of pink, gaunt side of the color spectrum. Hair color and the ribbon as well. Just so you guys have something more interesting to look at. Sometimes I just do the skin first and not color anything else in. But for the purposes of the video, I do this. I know that some artists have like an actual palette that they make for their characters. Where they actually, you know, will always have that palette on hand, and every time they draw them, they'll consult it. I've never done that, really. I don't have really a reason for it. Maybe just laziness. I just know that so for Sheeran's hair, he's blonde, but tends towards the sort of red side, like strawberry blonde. Ribbon color, very important. Although again, something that with digital art you can just change later if you don't like it. And cat screaming in the background, as per usual. He has a lot to say, that boy. Flats, simple as that. So, what I used to do is that I would lock the skin layer, but if I do that here, it also locks the opacity of the, and because it's a watercolor brush, it has a not 100% opacity, right? So if I lock it, then anything that I add in a darker tone for shading and rendering and things like that, it will not show up very dark. So I just put a layer on top of it. It just means that you have a little bit more cleanup if you go a bit messy with it. But it's okay. Alright. Then we just slap on some color. Well, this is Kyle's Real Watercolor 240. The other one I use Kyle's Real Watercolor 6. For flats I use Kyle's Real Watercolor Wet Tilt Inker. Just better opacity, lays down easier, and also it doesn't lag. That's definitely a problem I have on PC and Photoshop. Brush lag. Especially if they have texture. Photoshop just does not like that. Oh god, I hope you can... Oh, I don't know if you can see those Tumblr notifications. I might have to turn those off if you can see them. Right. I do feel like I'm going to... Whenever I record these, I feel like I'm just going to probably forget everything that I do when I'm drawing. But I guess that's fine. No, you don't need to remember what you do when you're drawing. Flip my canvas a lot as well, just to check if everything looks okay still. That's definitely something that I find difficult as well when it comes to drawing traditionally, that you can't flip your drawing. Because it's always whenever I get it digital and start flipping it, it just is, I mean, it's no good. It's definitely a weird thing, right, that it can look so strange if you flip it, even though it looks fine to you if it's, you know, the way that you've drawn it in your sketchbook. It's witchcraft, I think, actually. Not very neat with this either. I like sort of messy coloring where you can see the strokes. The like highly rendered airbrushed type of coloring style, it's not for me. Sheen is a character that doesn't sleep well and is tired a lot, so I'll add some sort of purple eye bag under his eye. Darken his upper lip. Right, and shading wise, I don't do much more than that. It's a pretty simple process. Tend to put it in the same places because I don't go crazy with lighting. Another thing that I should probably learn about. Oh boy. I like adding in a waterline Again, something I think just looks nice. Color in the eyebrows. Jeez. Alright. Some highlights. The skin tone is almost already white, but you know. Anything that you want to empathize, stick some highlighter on it. Just like in real life, I hear. Edit eye color. And there we have a Shurin. I've started not really doing that much shading on hair, just adding texture to it. Let's see if I can add a little though. Give it a little bit of dimension in the darkest areas. Alright. Should be fine like that then. Not really sure what else to say about it, to be honest. It would help if I got more specific questions, I guess. I think the ask that I got this time, the message I got this time about my process said something about the softness. I think that's just probably the brushes. Maybe don't pick colors that are that different in tone from your base skin color. Obviously that's gonna make it look harsher if you have bigger differences in your darks and your lights. Now, something I've noticed when it comes to darker skin tones like Ezra has is that if you just do one layer of color over it, to me it looks kind of washed out, because obviously it will have a white undertone that shows through, which is not, I mean, obviously if you draw a pale color over it, that's not so noticeable, but I'll show you that when you pick a darker color, and do this, wherever you see this like texture that the brush adds, it's obviously a lot more obvious in a dark color as well than it was in the skin tone that Sharon had. But here I just don't like, if a character should have a warm skin tone, then I don't like this white showing through, so I just end up duplicating the color layer. So you still keep some of the texture, but that grayish, it doesn't have that grayish undertone. Ezra also has brown skin and brown hair, which I'm a fan of those, like almost like as monochromatic skin tones. You know, you don't always need to give your dark skinned characters white hair. And so I don't. Alright. Again, I always tend to go for similar colors when it comes to Ezra's clothing. I guess I just think about basically what kind of clothes they would wear, and what kind of colors they would like. That, I feel like that makes it easier in a way to pick palettes for them, clothes, design, things like that, if you approach it that way, rather than only think about like what looks good or what's fashionable. Obviously that's also fun to draw if you just want to draw like a fashion, but I always tend to think about whether the character would actually wear it, how they would wear it, what colors they would wear it with. Would they wear pattern things or keep it plain? Would they add dangly tasseled earrings to every single outfit? And when it comes to Ezra, the answer is yes. for the blushy area that I tend to add to the cheeks and over the nose, I always go for, you know, start with the skin tone, go more towards red here, and then just darken it a little bit. That's where your blood vessels are. I guess they're everywhere, but you know, your blushing muscles. Again, there tend to be specific areas that I always just add shading to. Here, you know, where the tip of your eyebrow meets your nose, underneath your nose, underneath your lips, corner of your mouth. I tend to shade the temple as well, the ear, underneath the chin. Add some where the earring would cast shadow. And you're a bit too smiley looking, so I just change the little shading over here in the corner of the mouth. Again, add a waterline. Oh, excuse me. Brush. It's pretty late when I'm recording this, so I feel like I'm getting quieter than I was before. Or maybe I just have to concentrate more when I do the digital coloring. That seems a bit weird. Maybe it's more pressure to make it look nice at this point. It's supposed to look like something. Ah, skin highlights. I forget. I might darken the blush as well. You can't really see it that well. I feel like it just helps so much that those couple of highlighted areas give so much more depth. Makes it look like an actual face. I think so. Alright. And we have an answer. Alright, so I mean, I hope that was a little bit helpful. Obviously, if you have any other questions for me to answer, I will gladly do so. Usually after this point I might finish the frame, but I might also just take it into Photoshop and separate the lines from the white background that they're still on, from the picture that they were obviously originally from, so that I can recolor them, which makes it look a little less harsh. I think it looks fine as well with the black lines, but I also just like it with the recolored lines. Let me know if there's anything you'd like to see, basically. Or just if you'd like to see more chatty process videos like this. I'm still pretty, I would say, I think I'm doing better than my first video, but I'm still pretty nervous. I hope that'll get better though. Thank you for watching.